Welcome everyone. We are here for our second episode. At least it's the second episode for this particular audience here in the Grey Dog forums. We are here for our second episode of Exodus Wrestling Redux. Of course, a revamped, a reimagined, a totally upgraded version of Exodus 2010. Now here as a whole new product. I mean, it's the same style of product, but a whole new roster, a whole new brand. I mean, there's no going wrong here. In our first matchup of the night for our dynamic duo Grand Prix Day 2 of 2017, the second time that this tournament has ever taken place, Logan Wolsbaine and Raymond Diaz defeated Hellfire, of course, Torch Nakazawa and Demon Akimatsu of Saisho fame at one point, former champions over there, versus the Darkness Brigade, which is of course Dark Rider and Rokuemon Matsushita. So an interesting little combination of a big guy and a smaller guy. So Raymond Diaz, definitely the MVP of the matchup, gets the win with his debuting nephew Logan Wolsbaine in what looks like they could be very well a very, very big force here in Exodus. What a way to debut, what a way to come into the company. There aren't too many people. I believe he being Logan Wolsbaine had a touring contract with PGHW shortly before coming here, so he's already decently over. We are here in front of a sold-out crowd, by the way, 30,000 strong at Murin Baseball Stadium in the Hokkaido region, just like last night. So this opens the show and it gets to 80. That's a very, very, very good opening matchup, and I'm very happy with that. We're gonna go ahead and get into some of the action here for the dynamic duo Grand Prix. Let's see what kind of stuff we can get cooking. In our first quarterfinal matchup, had superb wrestling, decent reaction from the crowd. Massive Thunder defeated American Machine. Of course, Massive Thunder being the champions from last year, defeated American Machine in just under 13 minutes when Commander won with a single leg crab, tapping out Insane Machine. So American Elemental honestly gets the best performance of the match. Shinpei and Commander was only 1 point behind, but it was still a very, very good matchup, especially a good matchup to open the show in terms of the tournament. There should be, all the matches should be very good, but so far Exodus is up 1, and I'm sorry, Rhyme, you got this one wrong. I'm sorry. I had to put the originals and give them a shot here, so they get the big win in the first round of the tournament that they won last year. In our second matchup, already getting very, very, very promising ratings. We got Fighting Spirit defeating Golden Combat when Razan wins with a brainbuster on Gakusha. So the Young Guns overtake the longtime veterans here for a stellar matchup in our second quarter final. If that's what we have to look forward to, I'm very excited. So our third matchup, not quite as good, but that's kind of somewhat to be expected. We had About the Head Superb Wrestling, decent reaction. KitoGuchi, of course, defends. Oh, I didn't put their tag team, but I was on the line for this one. I apologize. KitoGuchi wins with Masakurata and Psycho Killer, also known as the Championship Connection, of course, being the All-Asian champion in Masakurata and the Gaijin champion in Conrad Maikanen. And the tag team champions, KitoGuchi, get the big win here, getting 199 respectively. Their opponents didn't do much worse. So surprisingly, didn't get quite as good of a rating as I was expecting after the last two, but that's okay. So in 81, the champs move on. And About to Head Superb Wrestling and Great Heat, probably the most unexpected result of the tournament. Unbreakable goes over on Pride&Glory. Giant Cocklov, after weeks and weeks of being tormented by Pride&Glory, decides to exact his revenge at the absolute best moment, taking them out of the dynamic duo Grand Prix. The very legendary team and singles competitors both were attacked by the big man himself, and Koklov basically is saying he wants his heavyweight championship back that is held now by Pride Koiso. Ed Stone gets the actual pinfall over Pride Koiso, who's the heavyweight champion, gets a pinfall victory over the heavyweight champion with a party's over. So that's very, very good. Ed Stone and Stone Yoshikawa with the biggest upset probably possible in this entire tournament. So that gets a 78 though, of course, due to having to keep them strong and everything, not wanting them to look bad in this whole ordeal. I mean, they both still got 100. So 78 for our final quarterfinal matchup. We're going to move on to, I believe, the 6-man tag title matchup, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we do. We move on to our 6-man tag title champions, the Shameless Miscreants, defending over the strong contenders, the Rebel Alliance, Musashi, Kaz, and Ian. 16 minutes when Shirai wins with a Tokyo stretch on Musashi. So that is their first defense of the championship. Shirai, though he got the pinfall, was actually the weak link, surprisingly. Pretty Akakura and Masao Subachi, of course, being a little bit better in the ring. All of them are very good on the mic. So that gets a 77. I'm very happy and pleased with that. No complaints here. We get their little angle storyline is started. Now Kaz and Musashi, of course, didn't do quite as good, but I think that's due to a lack of overness from those two. So a 77 for our first championship matchup of the evening. And about the head, great wrestling and decent reaction from the crowd. Wolf Hawkins scores a big, big win over one of the new breed of pure Rezu and Japanese wrestling in general, Suki, with a pinfall with a full moon rising in just about 18 minutes. The biggest win of his short Exodus career, and he's still getting better. So an 80 there, and we're going to get back, I believe, into the semifinals. Our first semifinal matchup, KitoGuchi defends their tag team championships against Fighting Spirit. This gets a 92. Now this was very, very, very nearly the final, and it probably should have been. I see him topping this though. I don't think 92 is the best rating that KitoGuchi is going to get tonight. Of course, they get the win here with a blazing elbow and Buso pinned Razan. So defense number 5 and 199 again, respectively. Their opponents getting 85 and 82. So really, they didn't even do as good as the championship connection necessarily, but it got a better rating. So the tag team champions are moving on to the finals. In our second semifinal matchup, another upset. Unbreakable gets the pinfall victory when Ed Stone again gets the pinfall over, I believe, Shinpei. Yes, of course he defeated Shinpei. So the last year's champions, and probably one of the favorites to win again this year, despite Shinpei not really being quite on the level of Commander so much anymore, they still lost. They didn't come in and look as prepared as they could have. Now Ed Stone and Stone Yoshikawa absolutely tore the house down with an 84 and an 89, while Commander definitely still commands the matchup, gets a 97. Sold out crowd here, and we have a surprising finals matchup. Who would have thought Unbreakable would make it all the way to the finals? Here we are, our first ever Ironman champion was crowned, much due to the dislike of Super Zero, who's actually usually pretty good about this kind of thing. He was not happy to be taking the pinfall, or to be losing in general to his tag team partner of the Dynamic Duo Grand Prix, that being Thrill Seeker, the Canadian Lee Rivera. Gets a big win, and I believe one of the first singles championships of his career, if not the first. I don't know if I can check this profile from here. I don't know if I can do that anymore. Maybe I'm thinking of WMMA. So unfortunately cannot check that, but I'm pretty sure that's the first singles title that he's held in his career, and he's at the ripe age of, I believe, 36 or 37. So he gets a big win and scores the most pinfalls here in this Scramble match. Of course, we had strong performances from Thrill Seeker. Definitely had one of the better performances. Joshua Taylor, who almost won it. I mean, it was very, very close. It was kind of a toss-up. Ultra Dragon also puts in a good performance. So Super Zero, although he was the one who was the most over, only gets a 68. So he didn't do quite as good as I thought he was going to, or as he thought he was going to do, apparently. So the weak link being the big vet, Waschichi Inao. By the way, thank you, Ship Shirt, for that render. I very much love it, and I will use it forever. Gives him a little bit more personality. So that gets a 79. Thrill Seekers are first ever, the inaugural Exodus Ironman champion. Now we go on to our co-main event, a tables match between the world champion HIJIRI and strong contender Masaru Ugaki. In an exceptional match, as it should be. I even tried to dumb it down a little bit as to not overshadow the main event. Masaru Ugaki defeated HIJIRI when he put him through a table. I don't know what move he would use. I'm not entirely sure, but let's just say that it was a high impact dragon suplex or something crazy stiff through the table. Of course, the only 3-time champion in Exodus history, HIJIRI, loses here tonight, but it was still an extremely good matchup. Obviously a 97, but Masaru, it was definitely his night. As you can see, he puts on a 96, and HIJIRI put on an 89, so it was definitely his time. Masaru Ugaki, within the first 2 months of being in the promotion, is now the Exodus World Champion with a 97. One of his first world title reigns, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, our main event wasn't too far behind. KitoGuchi wins the second ever Dynamic Duo Grand Prix, defeating the big underdogs Unbreakable, Stone Yoshikawa, and Ed Stone. But it was still an absolute amazing matchup. I'm so glad to see that they performed better than the other semifinal with KitoGuchi, because I was a little bit worried after that. So it's still a very, very, very stellar event. If this isn't my best event that I've ever put on, I don't know what is. A 95 in the main event, a 97 in the co-main event. There was not a match underneath of 79, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a 78, if I'm not remembering correctly, in front of a sold-out crowd. So KitoGuchi defends their tag team championship, wins the Dynamic Duo Grand Prix championships, and puts on, honestly, it was a little bit lesser than their earlier performances. What are you going to expect? They've been out there 3 times tonight. So not quite as much psychology in this one, surprisingly, but definitely a worthy main event. KitoGuchi, the champs, and rightfully so. I'm very happy to see that. So let's go ahead and see what the event got as a whole. Wow, look at that. That is just beautiful. That is just beautiful. That makes me so happy. That is a 97 rated event. The worst rated matchup was a 77. Excuse me, I was off by 1 point. I am so sorry. So that gets a 77, and that was the Trios Championship match. So wow, what a show that we just put on here. I'm gonna go ahead and give out some congrats here. So Ed Stone, I'll give it to Ed Stone, or no, I'll give it to Masao. I could give it to Ed Stone, but I don't know that he really outperformed anybody. Masaru definitely earned that. So all Pride guys getting big wins here tonight, not gonna lie. But I mean, what a show. What a show, and I could not be more pleased with how that went down. And I know you guys won't see this right away. I'll probably post it a little bit after recording this, as soon as I can do a write-up. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this show as much as I did, and I will definitely have more up as soon as I possibly can.